Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sutton's Days. We are now into week 2 of the January Pantry Challenge, right? And we're kicking it. Yes, we are. We're getting all the things done. We are inventorying. We are organizing. We are menu planning. We're taking stock of where we're at and maybe where we need to look. And that's kind of where we're going to discuss today. I noticed when I was organizing the freezers, and probably so did you, that I am very protein heavy. Okay. A lot of protein out there. And then blueberries and bananas. Yeah, that's what's in my freezers. Blueberries, bananas, and meat. I don't have a lot of vegetables out there. I don't have fruit out there other than the blueberries, right? And I picked up on that as I was carting chicken from the barn to the house and thought to myself, okay, but I have canned vegetables. I have canned fruit, right? I canned up the grapes for Phil, and he's liking those. I canned up juices, and he's liking those. I pickled some carrots. I have canned carrots, 3 different flavors. I have it with onion stock. I have it with just water, and I have it like a glazed carrot, onions, glazed carrots. Those are all pressure canned. I have green beans. I have potatoes. I have sweet potatoes. I have squash. I have, mushrooms. Don't forget the shrooms. But I am not a big cooked vegetable consumer. Unless it's disguised, I'm not really a fan of most vegetables when they're cooked. I really like the raw ones. So in that aspect, I do tend to eat more seasonally personally, but Phil eats vegetables all the time. No problem. He'll sit down and kill off one of these monster cans of spinach with his dinner, right? So today we're going to talk about diversifying our pantries because you don't want it all in one place. Having everything in your freezer or having everything in jars or having everything from the store or having everything freeze-dried is not your perfect combination. You want to be able to diversify where you have your different kinds of food. Pardon me. So while I have carrots canned, I do those every single year. I also have carrots with my Thrive Life food because that's my backup. And sometimes, honestly, it's just a lot easier to grab those when I'm making a recipe as opposed to the ones that I've canned, which are a great side dish, okay, or good for adding to a casserole where all you have to do is mix it up and heat it up and serve it. So you have to look at diversifying as much of your pantry as you can. We have applesauce here. We have applesauce that I have canned personally. We have fruit. I have pineapples. I have oranges. I have mixed fruit. I have peaches. I have pears, right? So they're here. I have the fruits. I have the vegetables. I have all the things, but they're in different aspects of my pantry. I have my home canned, which I love, and I will always do. I have store-bought, where some things just a little more convenient to have for long-term storage, your working pantry, and actually for all of them, working pantry, short-term, and long-term pantries. These are all good. Long-term meaning up to a year, okay? My long-term pantry over a year is definitely my freeze-dried food, my Thrive Life food. And that works well for me because I have the broccoli, I have the carrots, I have all the stuff that I use. Onions, because I don't have another way to have onions other than my dehydrated and fresh, So finding different ways to have all of the different things that you use is imperative to a well-rounded out pantry. You don't have to go out and buy a freeze dryer, friends. You're looking at somebody who will never have the money, time, or inclination to own a freeze dryer, okay? So it's not practical. It takes too much time. You have to have the ability to pre-freeze. You have to have the electrical hookup for it. You have to have the time. You have to be able to maintain it. I'm great at delegation. And so I delegate that work to somebody else because I know the dollar value on my time. And I know that it would cost me more of something that is a finite commodity as opposed to paying somebody else to do the heavy lifting for me. I love canning food. I love canning food. It is my passion, okay? So you will always see me home canning different foods. But for some stuff, it's just not safe to home can. Like, say, your cream soups, okay, which are great for ingredients. It is it's a time sucker to do all of the fruit. I don't have time to do all of the fruit. It tends to all come about, right around the same time. And this girl's just not got that much time. So it's easier for me, for the quantity that is ingested, to actually purchase canned fruit. There's some, the apples, the applesauce, that I will definitely home can. But if I have time, then I will jump into the pears, the peaches, all of that stuff. So being able to do that, being able to have the home canned, the store-bought, the commercial, the freeze-dried, right? And then the dry mixes you can learn to make yourself. Dehydrating is huge. It is so easy and so, pardon me, time efficient to go to the store and grab those bags of mixed vegetables from the freezer section, right? Dehydrate those bad boys, stick them all into a gallon jar, make it airtight, and you have those to add to your soups and stews whenever you want. You don't have to worry about freezers going down. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You don't have to worry about underprocessing, overprocessing as far as home canning it, and you don't have to worry about stacking it with the commercially canned and what may be in there that you're unaware of, right? So between the dehydrating and the home canning and the purchasing from the store and the freeze drying, I can't diversify that I can think of another way. Instead of just having flour, I have wheat berries so that I can make my own flour. Wheat berries last 30 years. Rice lasts 30 years. I stock up on that. I make sure it's airtight. Pasta lasts a very long time. So I make sure when I catch a sale to buy a lot of it. But if I ever run out of it, I have wheat berries to make flour, to make my own. Do you see where this is kind of going? There are so many opportunities for us to, I guess you could say that we kind of go backwards to the old ways a little bit, but I honestly think that it's the better ways. I really do. Because a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, for what it's worth, we all know what that's worth, right? A lot of this stuff is what's making us sick. A lot of this stuff is what is killing us and causing us to be on umpteen different medications, right? So the more that we get back to real food, to having real food, to not having carb-laden, sodium-laden foods, right, stored up in our pantry, to having quality versus manufactured is so, so important. Now, I know there are dietary restraints out there for everybody, right? Diabetics, I get it. You can't have sugar. You can't do jam with a whole bunch of sugar. There are just some times where you have to look and go, I'm going to grab a cup of raspberries, I'm going to mash them up, and I'm going to put that on my toast. There is no added sugar. Is it shelf stable? No, it is not. Okay, but can I grab some of my freeze-dried fruit and refresh it and then mash it up and add it to my toast? Yes, I can. Okay, so it's finding ways to do the different things that you want to do the way that you need them done for you. Some of us have physical limitations. I get it. And so you need to weigh the pros and cons. We can all wish in one hand and you know what in the other. You need to sit down and find out what works best for you. Dehydrating, canning, buying it, freeze drying it yourself, getting somebody else to freeze dry it for you, or a combination of all of the above, which is what I highly recommend, because diversifying what you're doing and how you're doing it is going to be what sees you through really rough times. Most of you know that I have said that this is my retirement plan in the effect that it makes sure that Phil and I always have real quality good food sitting on our shelves, not the carb-laden, sodium-laden stuff that they're handing out to us, right? Do I have carbs stored up? Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do. I have oatmeal. I have rice. I have flour. I have wheat berries. I have sugar. But I can control how much of that I put in as opposed to buying the prepackaged meals. Now, when you're looking at stuff like this, it makes life a little bit easier on a rough day. Okay, like with the stroganoff recipe. Look at it, it's shelf stable. It's shelf stable, friends. So I can grab that, and it's easier than going to the store and hunting down sour cream. I'm not a purist when it comes to that. I am a does it taste good? Do I have the ingredients, and will my family eat it kind of cook, right? So I don't care what you call it, whether you consider it real stroganoff or not. It's edible, and it tastes good, and it sticks to your ribs, and it makes you feel a little bit better on a cold, nasty day. So when you are looking at what you're doing, do I recommend this? No, I really don't. I bought this red pepper and tomato soup. I bought this because I heard it was going to be good. Have I tried it yet? No, I have not. Yeah, I just haven't. It hasn't tickled my fancy. It did the minute I bought it, and it hasn't done it since. So, do I recommend things in boxes? Not necessarily. Is that sometimes the only way you can do it? Yeah. If you don't have the ingredients that you need to make bone broth now, you can buy bone broth. Try going for the organic stuff. It's probably the most natural. I'm not a huge fan of organic, but it is, it is what it is. I don't want a bunch of sodium and stuff in it. So when you're looking around, figure out different ways to stock your pantry, like the what's-her-face sauce. Like the what's-her-face sauce, right? I have what's-her-face sauce in a bottle, but I also have powdered. I have soy sauce in a bottle. I also have it powdered. Instead of sugar, I have honey. Try to find local honey. Makes a big difference. It's not cheap, but it doesn't take much to use either. So I also have the Caro Light syrup for making candy or something like that. There are different ways to do different things. Do I have artificial sweeteners here? You bet your hiney you do. Okay, I was diabetic for a long time. My husband's still diabetic. So I stock this stuff so that I can have options available to me. I have options should anything happen, that all of my eggs are not in one basket. I am not reliant on one company, one person, one thing, that I can either get my home canned carrots or get my Thrive carrots, right? I can either get my fruit cocktail here, or I can get the grapes that I can myself. There are ways to make it work. So I am interested in what ways you have for substituting things. What are your substitutes for your long-term, short-term working pantry so that all of your eggs are not in one basket? I have 50 chickens. I have 50 chickens. They cause me to leave the house every morning at sunrise and to get out there right before dusk to put them out and in, right? I have to pay for their feed. I have to pay for their welfare. I have to make sure that they're getting everything that they need. Do I purchase freeze-dried eggs? You bet your hiney I do, okay? Because if anything happens to that crew out there, I'm without eggs. I don't want to be without eggs. I like my eggs. So I have freeze-dried eggs. They're good for baking. They're good for eating. It works out perfectly. That's all I'm interested in. Can I use it to sustain myself and my family? Throw it in the comments section down below. What are you doing to diversify your pantry? Or where, since you're doing all of the inventory and all the organization and everything, where are you seeing gaps that you feel like you need to fill to diversify your pantry? I hope you guys are having as much fun with the January Pantry Challenge as I am. It's a blast, okay? We're halfway through. Until next week, everybody, be safe.